Number 4. The diagram shows a leaf of birophyllum. Some of the cells at the edges of the leaf divide to form buds. These buds can develop into individual plantlets. Name the type of nuclear division that produces plantlets. Okay, so some of you sitting down doing this in the exam, you would have not come across the word plantlets maybe. You would have come across the word buds, and then now you have the word plantlet, and you're slightly stressed. But a plantlet is just a young plant. And you can see that from the diagram as well. And the first thing comes to mind is that, okay, cell division, nuclear division, there are two types, mitosis and meiosis. And because this is a plantlet, and that's a bud, and those are basically the young plants, they must have come through meiosis. Well, actually, and so some students will say meiosis and then move on to the second question. And, well, actually, no, because plants can divide through mitosis and meiosis. And so their buds that develop into plantlets can come through mitosis. Meiosis is found in the sort of megaspores of the plant and the stamens of the plant. That's where you have the formation of seeds, and those tend to happen through meiosis. But plants over here, when they divide to form buds and then plantlets, those are clones. And so clones develop through mitosis. And so the answer here is mitosis. Oh. Mitosis. State two advantages of this type of reproduction. So straight up, two advantages of mitosis. It's that they produce large numbers of offsprings, and they produce rapidly, and they don't need another plant. So those are three advantages. So it's large numbers, it's rapid, and last one is no other plant needed. And yes, those are 3 points, and the answer only, the question gives 2 marks. But if you write more than 2 points, so here we've written 3, you won't get marked down. In fact, it's better if you have more than 2 points, because if one of them is wrong, then you can still get another mark because your last point could be correct. So actually, whenever you come across questions where they say state two advantages, if you have another advantage, you can another example or advantage, then you can write it down, because you won't lose marks by writing down more than 2 answers. B. The diagrams show the life cycles of 2 organisms, A and B. Which row of the table correctly describes the zygote of organism A and the gamete of organism B? So they want the zygote in A, so they want this, and they want the gamete of organism B. Right. So at first sight this seems hard, but when you break it down, it's not. So if we start off, you would have come across N and 2N previously. And N means haploid, whereas 2N means diploid. And so haploid means it has half the number of a full set of chromosomes, and diploid means it has the full set of chromosomes. So that's why we have N over here. You have N, so meaning half, and 2N meaning 2 of N, so a full set of chromosomes. And so if we have N, and it's going to do mitosis. That means it's going to replicate and clone itself. We're going to get gamete. But because it's an exact clone, the gamete is an N. And upon fertilization means we've got now the joining of two half sets of chromosomes. That gives us a full set. So a 2N. And then the cycle says it goes back to M. So that would mean that the zygote is diploid. Now, go to B. They want the gametes of organism B. If we start at the 2M, and then as we can see, we get splitting, that means that 2N is going to go to N. Gives us half the number. Then it's going to go under fertilization and joins two half sets, making you a full set, so a 2N, and then continues to be a 2N as an adult. So that would give us haploid here for the gamete, and therefore our answer is B. Moving on. Which row in the table shows where meiosis occurs in each life cycle? Right. Meiosis. So we know meiosis means we go from a diploid set to a haploid set. So the haploid set, the N, that is meiosis. So we're looking for that change, and where the haploid occurs, that would be where meiosis has occurred. So if we look at A, we get to A, we have haploid, continuation to haploid, and then fertilization, so diploid, and now back to an N, a haploid. So our zygote was 2N, and now it's gone back to N. This has occurred. Therefore, meiosis has occurred in R. Now, if we go to B, we're having 2N, and it goes to N, and from N to 2N, from 2N it remains 2N. Therefore, we're looking for this occurring 2N to N, so we have a 2N that's going to an N over here. So therefore, this occurs at S, and therefore the answer is RS. That would mean it's C. Now, explain the significance of meiosis in living organisms. Once again, you would have come across this in your textbooks, and so whenever they say a question, explain the significance of meiosis or mitosis, those are nice questions to pick up easy marks on. And so actually, we have many points for this. We have it's a source of genetic variation because of a combination of two sets of genes from each parent. So we have a genetic variation. Another point is that, well, explain. So we've said genetic variation. Well, the significance of it. So we always have to assume that the reader, so the examiner that's reading this, knows nothing about biology. And so when you've said, okay, genetic variation, always state why. Whenever there's an explain question, you always say why. So genetic variation, that's a significant point that occurs in living organisms. Why is it significant? Because it involves random assortment or crossing over. That's something you would have come across. Crossing over. And so, well, why is this still important? Okay, genetic variation is caused by random assortment or crossing over the chromosomes. Why is that important? Well, because it enables the contribution of mixing of different alleles from two different individuals. So mixing of alleles from two individuals. So, and again, why is this important? Well, give us a combination of new alleles. Because you've had the mixing of alleles, so now you have the combination of the new alleles. And so this gives us genetic variation. Why is that important? Because it allows organisms to adapt to environmental change. That's always the main point of meiosis, is that it gives us genetic variation that allows us to adapt to environmental changes. Adapt to environmental changes. And so this was 5 points, but you only needed 3. And you can see that all these answers seem similar to each other, but they're all valid and they're all important. So meiosis, the most important thing to remember is that genetic variation, we've got mixing of alleles that comes from two individuals, and that allows us to adapt to environmental changes better. And that's it.